Guys, please put your hands together for Mr. Tom Healy.
All right. Look at the intro. I love it. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I've obviously known Mike a long time, and as he knows, and it takes a lot for me to not golf on a Sunday, but I think it's a testament to our friendship. No, I'm actually kidding. So the real reason I'm here, I've known the kid 6 years. I've helped him with his business. I've been supportive. I've been a good friend. I figure if I do this, I may finally earn a free GSD t-shirt. Yeah. It's about time, right? So appreciate being here. I'm going to try and just rapid fire give you a whole bunch of ideas that are going to help you out, whether it's 1 employee or 100 employees. The practices are the same, and we're going to cover a whole bunch of stuff. So as Mike alluded to, real short story about me is that I speak to colleges, talk about leadership development, do a whole bunch of stuff online, in person, and about 7 or 8 years ago, companies started approaching me going, all right, we're having all this trouble with our young talent, right? Can't find the right ones, can't keep the right ones, we're banging our head against the wall, and now it's half the workforce that are millennials, under 40, Gen Y, whatever you want to call them. So it became such a huge problem. So now I split my time. I still work with college students, still do leadership development, love it, and I have my hand on the pulse of what they want, what they don't want, what the A players are looking for, but then I also work with companies around strategies to find and keep the right ones, because it's not just about getting young people in the door, especially when the job market's good. It's about getting A players in the organization. And look, the reality is if you do a great job with your marketing, and you do a great job with your healthcare, and you do a great job with your branding, and you have a beautiful building, and you have great equipment, and your people suck, then your company will suck. It's that simple. You can do everything else really well, and if you don't have great people representing your company, working with your clients, your customers, your patients, none of this other stuff really truly matters. And I thought about a fitness studio that I used to be a part of a few years ago, and when I joined, the owner, operator of the gym was the one teaching most of the classes. And to be honest with you, I would have ran through a damn wall for the guy. I'd run around in 110 degree weather with a 50-pound vest on, and I wouldn't think twice about it. And he pushed me. I got better. I would have paid double to be a part of that organization, to be a member of that facility. Well, as you grow and you get bigger, your priorities change, and now you have to be more of a business owner and less of an operator. And guess what happened? Had to bring in other people to teach the classes, right? No problem. Well, let me tell you, the quality of that program, the quality of those classes took a significant dip. So I went from, I'll run through a damn wall for you, I'll pay double whatever I'm paying currently, I'm here 6-7 days a week, I love it, to I'm overpaying for this garbage product. Now, equipment was the same, branding was the same, marketing was the same, location was the same, et cetera, but the product, in my mind, as the consumer, radically changed. So the people that we bring on board is critical. Now, again, like I said, whether you're hiring your first employee or you're a Fortune 100 company, it's the same thing. We got to have the right people. We got to recruit, develop, and retain top young talent into your organization. So excited to share this stuff with you. Now, the first thing I really want you thinking about is, why should someone work for me? Why should someone work in my business? Because there is a fundamental difference between someone being bought into you, being bought into the organization, being bought into the vision for what you're trying to do, and someone that's just punching a time card. There is a massive difference. So we want people that are A players. We want people that are committed to what you're trying to do, that feel aligned to the mission of the organization, that have that owner mentality. I love when, and Mike had brought this up right before lunch, but I love people where it's like, man, you might own the business because you have so much passion. I can't tell who owns it and who doesn't. I love walking into businesses where I honestly can't tell, and where the passion comes through. That's because someone knows why that company exists, where it's going, is bought into the culture of the organization. So I really want you thinking about, why should someone want to run through a wall for me? Why should someone have pride in what we're doing? Why should someone be excited to show up for work and feel like an owner versus someone going through the motions, collecting a paycheck, knowing full well that in 18 months either you're going to fire them or they're going to leave on their own, all right? So real quickly, I want you thinking about, what are your biggest frustrations with your younger employees? What are your biggest frustrations with your younger employees? Now, the interesting thing is I talk a lot about Gen Y, about millennials, and some of you, many of you are sitting there thinking, well, wait a second here, that's me. I'm 32 years old, I'm part of this. Or you're saying these things about me, or how am I any different? Let me tell you something. We're different. And maybe we're in the top 1%, 5%, whatever that is, but we are entrepreneurial. We are owners. We have passion. We work hard. We bring our A game every single day. One of the biggest mistakes I've made owning a business now for 10 years, and it took me a long time to learn this, was the people I hire are not me. So I just assumed, well, they're going to work as hard as me. They're going to care as much as me. They're going to sacrifice as much as me. No, they're not. But we assume that. And so you can't just say, well, you know what, we're the same age or they're the same generation, so I need to treat them the same way I want to be treated, and I can expect the same performance and work ethic and passion that I have. It doesn't happen that way. And again, I've made that mistake multiple times where I've thought, well, he is going to bring what I bring every day. She has the same skill set and passion and work ethic that I do. And once in a while that may be true, but a lot of times it's not, and we have to understand that. So think about what those frustrations are. Everything I'm going to share, it's not going to cost you any money to implement, and it's going to alleviate some of that because we want the right people coming on board, and then we want the right people staying, and we want to be able to rid ourselves quickly of the wrong ones. So what I basically am going to do over the next 25 or so minutes is walk through what I call the life cycle of employment, right? Everything from how do we find the right person to how do we keep the right person, everything in between. And I'll run through these really quickly just so you start to get a flavor of some of these different things. From a recruitment standpoint, we have to understand what is our ideal candidate and how do we measure it. So you talk to a major college football coach, and he's going to tell you, look, in a receiver, I want them to run this fast. I want them to be able to lift this much. I want them to be able to run these routes. I want them to be able to have these hands. I want this to be what they have in their heart, this to be what they have in their head. They know what an A player is. They know what a 5-star recruit is. They know who will fit well on their team in their organization, okay? And then they know how to measure it. So what's that for you? What are those characteristics? What are those intangibles? What are you looking for? And then how do you measure it? Because here's the thing, anyone, young, old, whatever, can walk into a job interview and wow you for an hour. So if you're not getting to the bottom of things, if you're not asking the right questions, if you're not measuring the right things, anyone can do that. And the example I always use is, imagine you looking for someone that's very extroverted, right? Well, an introvert walks into the interview, they just wow you, and they're energetic and they're excited, and they drank 6 cups of coffee before they got into the interview, and you're sitting there going, oh my gosh, she has so much energy, she's going to be perfect in this role. And then they go back in their car and they need a nap, right? They're like, oh, that was exhausting. But you need them to do that 8 hours a week, 5 days a week, right? So you need to measure that characteristic, not just, ask some surface level questions and them go, yeah, I am this, and they can pretend to be that. So we got to really know that. From a development standpoint, a 360 view of your organization. Where are you? Where are you going? And why does that role matter? Okay? And we can do that for any role imaginable. So we can say, yeah, you know what? You may be entry level, customer service, minimum wage, but you're the first line of defense with our customers. And if you're not smiling on the phone and you're not giving that passion and excitement for what we do, our chances of closing that customer go down by half. So yes, you may be someone that is entry level, that is minimum wage, that is just starting out, but you play a critical role in our organization. And guess what? She's going to come in every day with a much different attitude if she feels that she's important. From a compensation standpoint, it's flexible packages that work for them. Finding out from our A players, what do you want? What can we give you? Every business, every organization is different. Some of the ideas I share aren't feasible in your organization. That's okay. Management. How do we give constant feedback and evaluations, right? The annual performance review died. It's dead. It's in the ground, okay? It's now daily performance reviews, weekly performance reviews. It's changed a lot. And from a retention standpoint, it's really about saying, where are you going personally? Where are you going professionally? How do we fit into that? And that's a fundamental difference between, let's just call it a baby boomer and a millennial, is baby boomer got a job, right? I got this job. Now I need to try and have a life around it. Millennials say, I've got this life and I need to find a job that can work around that. Fundamental difference. So we got to marry those two so that someone says, you know what? They understand the things I want to do. They're supportive of my travel, of training for a marathon, of whatever it is I'm trying to do. They're helping me out. This could be a long-term partnership, all right? So, real quickly, the bottom line on this is we have 5 generations in the workplace. Does that mean there's going to be 5 generations in your business? Absolutely not. But in some organizations, there certainly are. Generations communicate differently. Generations have different backgrounds. Generations have different perspectives. Generations want to be managed differently. So this idea of, okay, we're going to manage our 25-year-olds the way that our 55-year-olds were managed, it doesn't work. Different people, different perspectives, different backgrounds, different experiences, different relationship with technology, right? They were raised differently. So fundamental differences. And so therefore we have to adapt our work accordingly. I got into an argument. So one of the things I do is I go around the country speaking to groups of CEOs, 15 to 20 CEOs in the room, some banter, 3-hour workshop. I go through an expanded version of some of the content that I'm sharing with you today. And basically got into a battle, okay, with a woman that was in New Jersey. Maybe she knew Mike, right? And she didn't agree with me. That's not how we do this. That's not how we do that. You don't understand our company. And back and forth, she was raising her voice. This was like my 4th speaking gig in the 4 days. I'd been traveling. I didn't have much sleep. I was eating out. And I, was a little ticked off myself. And I'm like, you're wrong. I'm like, if you want to keep managing people the same way that you have for the last 30 years and not adapt your organization, not customize it and tailor it to a younger workforce, not hire anyone under 40, go right ahead and let me know how that works out for you. Because again, this millennial, Gen Y, it's half of the workforce. And for many of us, it's most of our workforce because it's all we can afford. Or it's what we want, or it's what fits our business. So this idea that we're not going to change and adapt is ridiculous. Now, I'm going to give you some stats. I like numbers. It frames the conversation. It gives us some perspective. It's interesting. So 66% of millennials expect to leave within 3 years. So if you think it's going to take 3 years for you to get an ROI on them, that's not good, right? Really. We have to either figure out a way to retain them longer or get more value quicker. 16% see their current employer as a great long-term fit. So, okay, there's a small chance that someone actually sees you as a long-term fit. And it's okay that they come in and out, but just understand this, right? 74% feel in the dark about their performances. Now that's ridiculous. Again, we're doing annual reviews because that's what we've done for the last 75 years. Well, guess what? 74% of your millennials are going, I don't know if I'm doing a good job. I don't know if I'm doing a bad job. I don't know if they like me. I don't know if they're going to fire me next week. I have no idea how in the hell I'm doing in this organization. Why? Because you're not giving them feedback. Why do they need feedback? Because they were told they were great, perfect, beautiful, wonderful, #1 throughout their entire childhood by Barney, Bert and Ernie, their mom, their dad, their teachers, their soccer coach. So this everyone gets a trophy thing, there's actually some merit to it because they're used to constant positive feedback. So if you're not giving that to them for 40, 50, 60 hours a week, guess what? They're not going to like it because they're already programmed as a generation to get that feedback. 80% of companies estimate turnover at 15 to 25,000. Look, you look at enough turnover stats, you're going to see everything, all right? It really depends on your organization, but the reality is this. If you have to fire someone, you have to recruit someone, you have to develop someone, you have to train someone, it takes hours away from you or someone on your staff. Every time that happens, there's a financial impact in terms of time and money to you. I don't know what that is, but you probably can figure it out and it'll most likely make you sick. 46% of the workforce by 2020 is Gen Y. 16% is Gen X. So if you haven't really started to build your workforce around some of the strategies I'm going to share, it's going to be really, really tough because it's half, 2/3, 75%, whatever it is, of your employee base. Now, the average tenure is 2 years. Gen X stayed 5 years. Boomers stayed at a company for 7 years. So it's just what's happening. It's a lot quicker. And again, something needs to happen. Either you need to extract a positive ROI quickly on them, or you need to figure out better ways to retain them, right? Something needs to happen. Or if you're sitting there going, hey, it's going to take a year or two to really get you up to speed, making a positive contribution, understanding how we do our business, building a relationship with our customer and clients, it's going to be really challenging. And 90% prefer flexibility. In fact, half will take flexibility over an increase in pay. So what can you do within your organization to create flexibility? Is it a 4-day work week? Is it nicer, more casual clothing? Is it flexible work hours? Is it you can start earlier you want, you can start late if you want? There's a lot of things you can do, but I understand not every business that's feasible. What can you do within your business model to create flexibility that's not going to cost you anything and will actually make you money through increased productivity? I love this quote. Parents often talk about the younger generation as if they didn't have anything to do with it. Now, it's very uncomfortable for me. So when I was 24 years old, I started speaking to CEOs. And I would ask them, what's challenging about millennials? What's challenging about the young workforce? And they'd hit me with it. They're entitled. They don't work hard. They're not organized. They put smiley faces in their emails. And they'd run through all this stuff, right? And this was, again, I'm 24 years old. It was difficult for me to say, but I'd look at them and I'd go, why do you think that is? Oh, I don't know. I said, because of all of you. You raised us this way. The millennials will be the first generation in the history of the United States to do less well than their parents. Less money, less wealth, less financial security. First generation in history. So the intention was, we want to give you more than we got. We want to give you trips and cars and possessions and love and attention and care and positive feedback more than we ever got because our parents were tough as hell on us. What did that create? It created entitlement. It created a lack of problem solving. It created a lot of the challenges that we have. And it's simply because parents came from the good place of wanting to raise us better, but they created a lot of these challenges. That's the reality. So is it important to ask some of these questions about how they were raised in their childhood and when they started working? To whatever level you feel comfortable, absolutely. So I'm going to cover these. I'm going to give you some checklists. You have my contact information. If there's anything more I can talk about with you offline. But quickly, recruitment, right? How do we get the right people in the door? And I share actual quotes that I've heard during consulting work. So can the company fit my lifestyle? When I'm looking at that job description on Monster, when I'm being handed a potential opportunity, I'm sitting there going, how's this going to fit my lifestyle? Okay, so it's important to really make that clear. Now, a friend of mine got done with chiropractic school. Okay, and he's all excited. He's going into all these job interviews. He's got his suit and tie. He's got a great resume, hard worker, all these things. He goes into this job interview with this guy that owns a practice. He sits down with the guy, and the doctor who owns the practice doesn't say a word to him. He immediately gets up. He goes over to a chiropractic table. He puts his face down, and through the hole, he says, "Crack my back." My buddy's literally sitting there in a suit. He goes, "Excuse me?" And the chiropractor says, "Crack my back." And he kind of looks around and he goes, "Look, if you can't give me a great back adjustment, then why am I going to sit here and talk to you for 90 minutes? And the lesson to be learned from that story is this guy wanted someone that gave an exceptional back adjustment. That's what he needed for that role. So he's just going to get right to the point and see if this person's the right fit for that role based on them actually doing the work. Not talking about their grades, not talking about their resume. Keep in mind 75% or more of resumes have false information on them, so I wouldn't put much credibility into those. So what we want to do is we want to figure out what's the key function of my business. What am I looking for? And I'm going to put them to work doing that. And if they're good at it, they're good at it. If they're not, they're not. But why sit here and talk about it for an hour or 2 hours or whatever and really not know? And who cares about past experience and resumes and that stuff? That doesn't matter. You could have all the experience in the world and still be bad at something. So quickly, I'll give you a list. You may want to take a picture of this because we're not going to have time to go through them all in detail. But basically, this is what I believe to be characteristics of A players within an organization. Are these millennial only? No. I think they're true of any generation. But really thinking about which of these is critical for my business. Which of these things can I look for? And the one I'll highlight because I think it's the most important is will over skill. I want work ethic. I can't teach work ethic. I can't beg you to care. I can't make you a hard worker. Man, I'll take hard workers any day. And I can't tell you how many companies I do consulting for where they're looking for young talent and they're sitting there at job fairs of the best colleges in the country and they're trying to find 4.0 students. And guess who their A players are when we really drill into it? It's community college. It's worked their way through college. It's first generation college students. It's branch campuses. Man, because those men and women will bust their ass for you. And they want it more. So don't just assume that, oh, well, good school, good this, good that. Man, give me the hard workers. That's what I care about. And quickly, 5 strategies for that. Let's talk about the core values of the organization and make sure they're connected. Let's give them whatever kind of flexible scheduling we can. Let's give them interesting projects that start immediately, not just, here, we're going to give you paperwork for 2 weeks and we're going to have you take an online education course to learn how to do the job. We'll actually give you interesting stuff. Top-notch training. The reason millennials like top-notch training is because in the back of their mind, they're saying, I can take this training with me. So when I leave this company in 18 months or two years like everyone else does, all my friends do, guess what? I can bail and take this training with me, and then giving them the right compensation package. Now, from a development standpoint, we have to have a great development program because it's one of the top 5 reasons why millennials choose an organization and stay in an organization is to learn. And again, whether it's to move up within that organization or move somewhere else, they want that development. Now, I'll tell you a quick story. My dad and I did not have a good relationship. Butted heads, didn't get along, would go sometime years without speaking. And I remember we got into an argument right before I entered the workforce, was ready to graduate college. And the short version of the story is basically he's like, you're entitled and you're never going to amount to anything, and you think that you're just going to walk in on day one of your career and have a corner office. So I was working for a startup company after I graduated college, working from home. Had my desk in my bedroom. That's all we could do logistically in terms of the apartment. So it wasn't the best configuration of the room, but purposely, I put the desk next to the window in the corner. I took a picture and I said, looks like I have the corner office. So much of this is what we make of it, okay? And so what I want you thinking about is how do I give the corner office to my employees, right? Give them that 360 view of the organization and explain their role, explain why it matters, explain how they fit, explain how being the receptionist means you're the first person that they see and your warmth is going to lead to them coming in, feeling better about the organization, wanting to do business with us, and signing that major contract. Right? You can make any role important if you frame it the right way and give them the view of the organization. Talk about future opportunities. Talk about how they can get there. Give them basic customer service skills. You think of these large companies and it's, you got a bunch of people sitting in the boardroom of a large organization talking about certain things. And the funny part about it is who is the one actually interacting with the customers, clients, patients, whatever it is. It's the young people, the entry-level people, the minimum wage people. That's who you're talking to at the bank. Right? So I want people to have great customer service skills. I want them to smile. I want them to be warm. I want them to be committed to making the organization better because they're the ones that are actually doing a lot of the face-to-face stuff. And then giving people access to key people. So, whether it's a small organization, large organization, be accessible, talk to them on a regular basis. Now, compensation, this is important. And again, I already mentioned this, but you're dealing with people that were given a trophy, that were told that they're great, they're wonderful, they're special. You have them 30, 40, 50, 80 hours a week. You need to be giving that regular positive feedback. You need to be able to have certain key performance indicators of that job so that you can give them critical advice. Your goal is this, and you either exceeded it or you came short of it. Because we don't want to have a subjective conversation. Well, I'm trying really hard. I'm doing my best. Excuse, 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 because that's oftentimes what millennials do. I want you to say, this is the expectation. You fell short. What are we going to do to fix it? So we have key performance indicators for every role so that we can have an objective conversation with our young talent. Lots of short-term rewards and incentives. So instead of, hey, at the end of the year, we're going to give out a cash bonus, I'd rather you be handing out Chipotle gift cards and Starbucks gift cards and a massage and a round of golf throughout the year, right? And giving that constant smaller feedback. Keep emphasizing the development of what they're going to learn. Keep emphasizing how they fit into the future organization. And again, understand that training is currency. So, in our job descriptions, I'd really want to say, look, we're going to give you so much training. We're going to make you so much better at these key skills. We're going to help you out. That's a lot more exciting than I'm going to punch a time card and, just kind of go through the motions and be no better off in a year or two, just have maybe a little bit more money in my bank account, right? So in terms of management, and this one's critical, is a lot of times organizations, and again, small organizations, large organizations, you have managers that manage the way they were managed. So if you were managed by someone older and they gave the boomer management style to you, maybe it worked, maybe it didn't work. But the assumption that you can just manage them the same way, oftentimes it doesn't work. And again, the classic example is quarterly or yearly reviews. It's just simply not enough. This right here is your best management tool, and it's taking them out to lunch. Someone just mentioned that a little bit ago. You building a personal and professional relationship doesn't mean they're your best friend. It doesn't mean you're drinking buddies. Doesn't mean you're doing shots with them on Saturday night. What I'm saying is build a relationship where you understand their personal goals, you understand their professional goals. It's not just all we're going to sit in a conference room and do a review, but there's a friendship, there's a trust there. The number one reason why millennials leave an organization is because they don't like their manager. Number one reason why millennials leave an organization is they don't like their manager. So I know culture is important. I know healthcare is important. I know marketing is important. I know branding is important. I know all these things are important, but we do all those things and we're like, why can't we keep top young talent? Well, because we're not managing them, developing them, building that personal and professional relationship. Yes, it takes time. The example, the wording I sometimes use is you have to be a workplace parent. Sometimes you have to be lovey-dovey. Sometimes you have to be tough. You have to train. You have to teach. You have to be giving them enough space to make mistakes, but close enough to help them out. Great managers of young talent are really good at being workplace parents. I know it may seem crazy. I get my eye rolls from CEOs when I'm talking to them, but guess what? It's the truth. You want to be successful? Be a workplace parent. So again, regular rewards, we already talked about that, being that workplace parent. Fulfilling and challenging projects. Get them engaged, get them involved. Is it critical that you have them involved in a fun project? Maybe not, but they're going to be way more engaged in the organization if they're spending 10 or 15% of their time doing something fun and exciting that's a little bit different. Clear goals, tasks, and KPIs. Obviously, it's important of any employee. I think it's especially important of young talent because it takes away those, well, I'm trying really hard, I'm doing my best, and a lot of those excuses and stuff. So when you can say, again, this is the expectation, you exceeded it, and here's how we're going to reward you, or you came a little bit short, and here's how we're going to fix it. And the last thing is communicating the same way. If someone sends you a text, respond with a text. If someone calls you, call them back. And a lot of times people, will say, oh, well, they sent me a text, so then I'm going to send a long email, or I'm going to give them a call. It's just communicate the way people want to be communicated with. It's true of business. It's true of management, right? And then the last thing is retention. So we have great talent. We have the right people on the bus. We have the right butts in the seats. How do we keep them? Because we know they're not afraid to leave tomorrow. They don't feel that they need to be loyal. Even this giving 2 weeks notice, I'm noticing is kind of a dying trend. Well, you know what? They promised me a bonus, or they promised me this, this, and this, and they didn't give it to me, so why should I give them a 2-week notice? So there's less loyalty than there's ever been in the workforce. There's no question about that. So how do we keep top young talent? My number one piece of advice is develop a personal and professional roadmap for them. What do they need to do personally? What do they want to do professionally? How can your organization fit into that and help them out? If they want to make more money, show them the path to be able to do that. If they want to train for a marathon, show them how they can start work a little bit later and go running in the morning. Whatever it is, right? How do you fit their lifestyle? I know there's things you can't do, but if you can do it, why not? If they can work from home a couple days a week and you have key performance metrics to figure out if they're doing a good job or not, why not? If they can do 4 10-hour days and they would prefer to do that, why not? Because what you basically do is by adapting your organization and creating these, customized plans, right? These customized compensation plans, what you're basically doing at a low level in your organization is creating golden handcuffs. They can't walk into your competitor and go, look, I want to be paid more, I want 4 10-hour days, and I want to be involved in fun, interesting projects. They can't do that. But if you give it to them, it's a lot harder for them to leave, right? And 5 quick strategies with that. Always encouraging ideas and inputs. How difficult is it to bring in a catered lunch, sit down with your young talent, and say, what can we do better? What can we do to offer a better customer experience? What can we do to manage you better? What can we do to attract better people to join our organization? Pose a question. Hell, I don't care if you don't even care about the answers. Just go through the exercise so that they're going, look, the CEO, the owner, the person running this organization is asking me for my feedback, helping, letting me help create solutions for the organization. And you'll be shocked. It's a different perspective. Maybe being younger helps out. Maybe having a different view helps out. Maybe being a past customer helps out. Maybe being new to the organization helps out. You never know, but just have that conversation. Mapping out that future. Another thing is focusing on top performers, because guess what happens? If you have some C players in your organization, you have C players in your organization. That's problem number 1. More importantly, problem 2 is your A players don't want to be around C players. They're like, you know what? I don't want to work with these people that don't work as hard as me, don't care as much as me, but they're making the same amount of money. That's ridiculous. I'm going somewhere else. So your C players don't leave. They stick around because they know that no one else wants them, and then your A players bail. So we have 2 problems on our hand, right? We want to make sure we're rewarding great production. And I know, look, I've started a company. I know that sometimes we don't have a whole heck of a lot of money to, spread around, but can we do a round of golf? Can we do a massage? Can we rent them a limo for the evening to take out with their friends? What can we do to reward them, to say, you're doing a great job and I want to help you just enjoy life a little bit more because you've been so helpful to the organization as we're growing. And the last thing is, and I know this is kind of a scary, annoying, weird thing to do, but put an emphasis on exit interviews. Sit down with people and go, why are you leaving? You know, can I buy you lunch? Or here, I'll give you $100 cash right now if you'll give me your unfiltered reason for leaving. You know, what is it? And you never know what they're going to say, but it's amazing why people leave organizations. I mean, I've seen people leave organizations because they didn't get positive feedback, right? I've seen people leave organizations because they had to park too far from the building. I mean, the craziest reasons. So let's figure out what those are and maybe hopefully be able to solve those. All right? So again, I know it's a lot to think about. I know it's a lot of stuff. You're not going to go back and implement all this now, but I hope you got a couple ideas of things you can do to find and keep better young talent. You have my contact information. If there's anything I can do to help you out, to work with you, I live down the street. I'm happy to. I know it's been a long day and a long weekend. Thank you so much for your attention. I hope this was helpful. Appreciate it.